So in order to mark the period of Rig Veda, this period is referred as non-iron using phase of PGW. And this is known as iron using phase of PGW. Okay, so 1000 BC is the mark that distinguishes the use of iron and use of not the use of non-iron. So non-iron using phase of PGW and iron using phase of PGW. 1500 BC to 1000 BC. Because here iron came into existence and it had huge impact. Around 1000 BC. So look, yesterday I told you that yes, iron came into existence means iron became known to the Aryans around 1000 BC, but it was very soft. So hardly you can make any axe or plowshare. So axe to cut the tree and then plowshare to plow the field, because it was very soft. So therefore iron was initially used as war weapons. So the initial use of iron was war weapons. War weapons. So what is use of the war weapons in transformation of Janpad into Mahajanpad? The use of war weapon was basically used in political expansion. Janpad became big and therefore it became Mahajanpad. So transition of Janpad into Mahajanpad is because of the war weapons. Okay. Then consolidation of state. Consolidation of state. Is because of the war weapons. Because of the weapons, the tax collection became easy. The fear of the iron weapons that impact on the smooth tax collection by the people. So use of iron. This is the two important things we see in the later Vedic period. After 1000 BC, the later Vedic period, the use of iron was very limited. The use of iron was very limited. And it's only in the war weapons, spears, swords, shield, these are the things you make. But around 600 BC means post-Vedic period. Vedic period in 600 BC, the post-Vedic period. So post-Vedic period, there emerged a technique which is called carbonization. So in post-Vedic period, there emerged a technique called carbonization. So technique of iron and mixing with carbon, this is called carbonization, and therefore it had produced the steel and semi-steel. Steel and semi-steel, and thereafter we can use X or plowshare. X or plowshare. So after technique of carbonization, there was construction of steel or the semi-steel, and thereafter it could be used for making X or plowshare. So that became possible after a long time, not in the Vedic period but in the post-Vedic period. This is the reason why we don't have evidence of X or the plowshare in entire India before 600 BC. So we have found one rare example at Noah and Zakhira. Only one iron weapons. From Noah we have found the axe, and from Zakhira we have found the plowshare. It is around 900 to 800 BC. Very rare. This is a rare finding. Noah and Zakhira. Haryana and Rajasthan region, we have found the iron axe. It's a very rare, only one example of each, otherwise not in common to the public. So it was only for the war weapons. So it's common question that, sir, how Aryans expanded towards eastward, colonization towards eastward, because there is a thick vegetation of the Gangetic Valley. How it was cut if there was no axe? So there are plenty of evidence we have that the Aryans used fire, right? Fire to cut the tree and devastate the tree, and thereby going for the eastward expansion. Like example, we have Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, the Pandava brother was hiding in the house made up of lac in the forest, and then Duryodhan was searching like anything, and he could not find him, could not clear the forest also. So he lit the fire. Fine. So then fire reached to that house. There was nobody in the house except two brothers. One was Bhim and second was Sahadev. So Bhim always, he eats too much, so therefore he sleeps too much. So he was sleeping, and then Sahadev was playing the video game. Sahadev had a super specialty that if you don't ask him anything, he will not tell you anything, whether it is a danger of the life also. Then Bhim felt the heat, he got up, scolded Sahadev, playing video game. Bola kyun nahi? Aag laga hai. Then Sahadev said, nobody asked me. So this is how the story is there. So many, plenty of stories are there in the literature which depicts that the Aryans were using the fire. I told you that when archaeology is silent, when literature is silent, then you use the folk tales to find out the solution. So this is how, when we said that there was no iron, but still Aryans moved by cutting the forest of the Gangetic Valley, that means there was a different technique, and that was also called fire. So eastward expansion of the Aryans after 1000 BC, the eastward expansion of the Aryans and southern expansion of Aryans, it became possible by the use of fire. Use of fire. So after 1000 BC, after 1000 BC, eastward expansion of the Aryans, southward expansion of the Aryans became possible by the use of fire. In Satpath Brahman, and Mahabharata, we have description about the use of fire. Use of fire. Satpath Brahman, it's described about a king, Bideh Madhav, who started from Saraswati to Sadanira. He started from Saraswati to Sadanira. He lit the fire and reached as far as Sadanira is Gandak. Sadanira is Gandak. So Aryans moved into this area by the use of the fire. And Mahabharata, there's a story of Duryodhana searching the Pandavas. So these are the descriptions which say that the use of fire was very common. So after 1000 BC, it became very common. Mahabharata war is also having the same period. Around 1000 BC, it had happened. Around 980 BC around, in the later Vedic period. Obviously, when we said that formation of Kuru, Panchal, iron weapons, then that things is possible only in this age. But when you talk about the Ramayana, it's very difficult to find out date or even the imagination also, because Mahabharata, this Kuru Panchal developed first, and then we have development of Ayodhya and other cities. So these cities like Ayodhya, Banaras, Patliputra, these are the cities developed much later than Kuru and Panchal. And Ram was the hero of that Ayodhya region. He was the king of that Ayodhya region. So that is how we can say the description had difficult to find that which one is older. Which one is older. So Ramayana and Mahabharata also developed in the same time. So after 1000 BC, Satpath Brahman. So these are the facts for the Vedic period. Now come to the post-Vedic period, a new chapter. After 600 BC. This is age of social ferment. This is age of social ferment. This is age of philosophical learning. So age of social ferment. In 600 BC, we have the one important thing that is called second urbanization. Second was age of Buddha and Jaina. Buddha and Jaina. and third was age of Mahajanpad. Age of Mahajanpad. And rise of Magad. Rise of Magad Empire. So these things we will study here detailed. There is a possible question from here in the mains also. When we talked about the second urbanization, the first being the Harappan and second Gangetic Valley. Harappan's Indus Saraswati region was the core region, and then Gangetic Valley is the, so Harappan's 2000 BC and Gangetic Valley around 600 BC. So there is a gap. So here if you look at the map, around 2000 BC, we have this area as a highly urbanized area. Around 2000 BC. But here it had taken a long time and this area became highly urbanized and more intense urbanization. It's around 600 BC. This is in the Indus Saraswati and this is in the Gangetic Valley. The size of the city was much bigger. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan we found here. But here we found the big city like Mathura, like Kashi, like Patliputra, Kushinagar, Koshambi. So these are the much bigger city compared to the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. And there obviously level of urbanization was very high. So in comparison to this, the second urbanization, it had bigger cities, enhanced material culture, use of advanced economic system, and huge social participation. Advanced economic system and use of, that is huge social participation. Means because Buddha Jaina social mobility was very high, and this is the reason why the participation of the society was also very high in urbanization. So therefore it was not confined to any class or areas, it was a huge Gangetic Valley. Okay, so the bigger cities, enhanced material culture, use of advanced economic system, and there was a huge social participation. So that make this civilization very intense. Now understand one thing. It's not like that the peoples living in Harappa only and rest areas was vacant. There were Neolithic community living in entire India. So there were original inhabitants, they were living in entire India. Okay. So when Harappans declined, then Harappans migrated. So Harappans migrated and Harappans migrated in both sides, this side and this side. Because we found the evidence of exclusive Harappan culture in different areas thereafter. So how this culture had reached? Because of the migration of the people. Very clear. Then Aryans came And then Aryans also started migrating on the same level. Aryans also started migrating on the same level, this side and this side. So migrants always carry technological knowledge, informations. They are skilled. So Harappans came with its own skill value, that is how to make the urbanization, because they had already made successful experiment, so they know everything. So Neolithic community present in this area. Harappans came after the decline of Harappan civilization and the Aryans came. So therefore each level of technology and culture was mixed. Since Indus Valley was a fertile region, so same fertile region was found here in the Gangetic Valley. So when technology got the resources, and therefore the use of technology to generate surplus, and therefore there was urbanization. Okay, because Indus Valley civilization, they had how to create the urbanization, what is the characteristics of urbanization, but they were not having the resources. So when they keep on migrating eastward, and when they come across with the floodplain of Gangetic Valley, so therefore the technology got the resources, and therefore the huge surplus was found, and this is the region of the urbanization. So this process is called acculturation, that is mixing of the various levels of culture, right? Neolithic community had its own technological superiority. Harappans came with another technological superiority. Aryans came with another technological superiority. So many technological things got the massive resource base of the floodplain of the Gangetic Valley, and therefore they had huge agricultural surplus and urbanization. So did you understand how the urbanization had taken place? I think in geography you might have studied the center place theory. So urbanization, that is, we are talking about the second urbanization. So there is a concept that this area, suppose it is agriculture is there, agricultural based urbanization, agriculture. When agriculture became surplus, matlab one person is producing so much so that other person will create other economic activities. They don't have to go to field to cultivate. So therefore surplus led to the art and craft. Art and craft. Surplus is not uniform. Somebody would have more surplus, somebody would have less surplus. So that means what? There will be a social stratification called rich and poor. Everybody is rich or everybody is poor. It is a comparative thing, right? If you are rich, but when Mukesh Ambani will come, you become poor. So everybody is rich, everybody is poor. So there is a rich and poor will come. This is called social stratification. Social stratification. So how much society is stratified, that much economic mobility. Economic transaction will become very high. Economic mobility will become very high when society is stratified. And social stratification because everybody had different surplus. So there are lots of classes and thereafter the economic mobility is very high. And economic mobility is very high means economic generation is very high. Right? Art and craft. Art and craft means there is possibilities of export. Possibilities of export means there will be a script, and there will be script means there will be coins. Fine. So trade led to the rise of export import. Trade created the script for export and import, and trade created the possible coins. Fine. So surplus generated, and there are so many things had happened, right? There will be craft diversity, there will be craft specialization, right? Common consumption, export variety, this variety, that variety, craft, diversity, craft, specialization. Okay. There will be, that means what? This is urban character. So how urban people will have a food? Only when the surplus generated in the village will come to the city. So from small village will come to the district, district to state, district to Delhi. So there is a surplus accumulation. How? That is by the ministers, officers, tax collecting system, and this will work under government. So there will be government. This is all because of the surplus. So surplus had generated so many changes, and this is a mark. So I told you that in Gangetic Valley there was a huge generation of surplus, and because of that all these things had happened, which is a marker of urban civilization. लिखा नहीं इसको, फोटो तो बना. So there is a surplus. What changes surplus bring? First is the surplus is not uniform, so there is a rich or poor. Okay, there are different layers, so rich and poor, known as social stratification. There are different strata, so social stratification, which resulted in economic mobility. Resulted in economic mobility. Right? Then surplus created the possibilities of more art and craft, and we are making good thing means others should take benefit of that and we should earn money. Export. There are so much export, then script, writing things, and then coins. Crops will be diverse, diversity of crops, and there is a specialization of the craft. Fine. Then grain should reach to these areas because all are artisans, they are not producing. So grain will come from the village. Minister, officers, bureaucrats, and tax collecting system. Tax collecting system. How these all will work under the government? What is the work of government? To monitor the function of its institution. Right? So there will be a strong government. There will be a strong government. So urbanization means paisa hi paisa. Village means subsistence, and urbanization means capital. So when you got the capital, thereafter the problem started. You started remaining the sad. You started thinking, what is life? Right? So when you have a more money, more tension, what is life? And thereafter, Buddha and Jaina will come to solve the answer. So that is what the Buddha and Jaina. The philosophical things will also develop during this period. So philosophical thing, the rise of Buddha and Jaina. Because the material had created the problems of the human. Right? So you started thinking, why, what is the root cause of our problem? Nobody is happy. Nobody is happy. So what is the root cause of the sadness? And why human born again to become sad? So such a big question, and that will be answered by Buddha and Jaina, because it's a philosophical thing. So 600 BC, it is all the things, economic generation, huge urbanization, development of material culture, as well as the philosophical ferment, age of social ferment. So this is how the surplus had generated all these things. So tomorrow you'll write the impact of surplus. Question, tomorrow you'll write at home. In 600 BC, the rise in surplus resulted in huge socio-economic changes. Resulted in huge socio-economic changes. Very small question. You have to write in 250 words. 250 words. Explain. You have to explain in 250 words. So cover everything. The social change, economic change, political change, what causes these changes. Okay. So this is a comprehensive question related to the transition of society. So talk about the causes of second urbanization. Causes of second urbanization. I am talking about the 600 BC, urbanization of 600 BC in Gangetic Valley. Or that is urbanization of 600 BC in Gangetic Valley. So first important thing we observed in the Gangetic Valley, there was alluvial soil. Alluvial soil, Gangetic Valley, it had a high fertility ground. So alluvial soil had produced too much, and surplus always leads to the development of material culture. First thing. Second thing, there was a different cropping pattern. In northwestern India, we have the wheat belt, but in the eastern India, we have the rice. And I don't know how much farmer you are, but or you are the farmer of Facebook. So the production of rice and production of wheat, the rice production is many times higher than the wheat. Okay, this is a change in the approach of rise of surplus. Okay, then third important thing, they have developed a new technology called transplantation of crop, transplantation of paddy. When you throw the seeds in the field, the paddy can be grown, but when you graft the plant, paddy plant, so according to the agricultural experts said, compared to both the method, the grafting, it had 100 times more productivity. So in 600 BC, we have the technology of transplantation of crop, the grafting of paddy. The whole idea is how to generate maximum surplus. Okay. Then next issue is, there was monetization of economy. Monetization of economy, we have the first coins. Before that, we don't have the coins. So around 500 BC, there was a coin called punch-marked coins, which was in huge circulation. And monetization will open the different avenues of economy called trade and commerce. So this area was under the huge impact of the trade and commerce. Okay. Next is the technique of carbonization of iron. Steel and the semi-steel was found at a great extent, and thereafter we have the axe to clear the field, we have the plowshare to tap the deep fertility of the Gangetic Valley. The soil of Gangetic Valley is very hard. You cannot use any other means if you don't have the iron. So after steel was made, then we can tap the deep fertility of the hard soil of Gangetic Valley. That means more agricultural surplus. Okay. And then the most importantly, the ideology of Buddha and Jaina. Buddha and Jaina, advocated the peace, which is very important for trade and commerce, peaceful atmosphere, economic generation. Buddha and Jana advocated the social mobility, discarded the rigid form of the Burn system. Social mobility always created the temperament, which is very important for economic regeneration. Okay, so these are the factors which actually you understand about the rise of second urbanization. Fine. So any doubt in this? Or surplus generated? So causes of the second urbanization, first is the alluvial soil of Gangetic Valley, which was very fertile. It helped in surplus production. Second, process of acculturation. In 600 BC, the migrants Harappans and Aryans came with their technological superiority, which was fused with the local Neolithic community. Both Harappans and Aryans had same level of agricultural environment in Gangetic Valley, which they had in Indus Saraswati region. So technological fusion supplemented by resource base led to the rise of urbanization, huge urbanization. Third point, change in the cropping pattern. Eastern India was known for paddy cultivation. There was development of transplantation of crop, transplantation of crop, therefore the method of transplantation generated 100 times more productivity, 100 times more productivity compared to the normal wage of throwing seeds in the field, normal wage of throwing seeds in the field. Fourth is technique of carbonization. Technique of carbonization. Carbonization. In Gangetic Valley, it was difficult to tap the fertility of soil. It was difficult to tap the tap the fertility of soil because of its hardness. Because of its hardness. After technique of carbonization, there was success in making steel and semi-steel. There was success in making steel and semi-steel. So use of iron plus air. So use of iron plus air helped in tapping. Use of iron plus air helped in tapping deep fertility of soil. Helped in tapping deep fertility of soil, which resulted in surplus production. Fifth is monetization of economy. Around 500 BC, the coins was circulated. The coins was circulated, known as punch marked. Punch marked coins. It was made up of silver and copper. Silver and copper, which facilitated the trade and commerce. Which facilitated trade and commerce. Sixth, ideological perspective of Buddha and Jaina. They advocated peace and social mobility. Which helped the traders It increased the mercantile activities. And economic transaction. So these are the basic thing which lead to the rise of. If you count another thing which we'll study just now, there was a huge Magadhan empire. The empire keep on expanding, so there was a huge Magadhan empire in northern India, then entire India in the form of Mauryan empire. So during the Magadhan empire, the entire northern India was under the one political system. So therefore there was no restrictions in the movement of traders. One law, one state, therefore it was huge possibilities of economic and social mobility. Next factor is establishment of great Magadhan empire. Next point, establishment of Magadhan empire, seventh factor, which was spreaded in entire northern India. Therefore the traders and the merchants had to work in one state, one taxation system. Had to work in one state and one taxation system. Okay. So these are the things which is called the causes of the second urbanization in the Gangetic Valley. I told you that compared to the Harappan cities, it was huge. And also one thing you have to keep in mind, that Gangetic Valley means it starts from Haryana, Ganga Yamuna. So here, this is the area. This is called Upper Gangetic Valley, this is called Middle Gangetic Valley, and this is called Lower Gangetic Valley. So urban cities, Atranji, Khera, Hastinapur, it was less, then it became more big and it became biggest. Right? Because here we have all the factors more pronounced. The paddy cultivation, because hot and humid atmosphere. So this is how the city keep on increasing. So it had started in the Upper Gangetic Valley, the sign of urbanization, but as soon as we progress to the Lower Gangetic Valley, the size of the city had increased. Fine.